Hi guys, the night settles gently over the broad valley of the Nile. The last colors of the sun have already faded beyond the western desert, leaving only a soft glow along the horizon where the warm earth slowly releases the day's heat. A quiet breeze drifts across the water, carrying the scent of wet reeds and river mud. Somewhere in the distance, a small fishing boat rocks almost without sound, tied carefully to a wooden post driven into the riverbank many seasons ago. The stars appear one by one, bright and patient above the wide Egyptian sky. There are no busy streets filled with noise. No lamps stretching for miles. Only scattered points of warm light shine from small homes built of sun-dried mud brick. Their walls still hold the warmth of the afternoon, making the rooms inside feel gently comforting as families prepare to rest after another long day. For now, everything moves slowly. The river itself seems almost asleep. Its water slips quietly around patches of tall papyrus, reflecting the moon with gentle ripples that disappear almost as soon as they form. Frogs call from hidden pools along the edge of the fields. Small insects hum softly in the darkness, creating a steady rhythm that blends with the calm breathing of the land. This is ancient Egypt, not during the grand ceremonies that history often remembers, but during the ordinary evenings that came thousands upon thousands of times. These quiet hours belonged not to kings or generals, but to the countless people whose careful routines allowed an entire civilization to wake again each morning. Long before sunrise, those routines would begin once more. But tonight, while the village rests, there is time to notice the peaceful order hidden inside everyday life. Egypt was a place where almost everything depended upon rhythm. The river rose and fell according to the seasons. The fields were planted when the rich black soil appeared. Bread was baked before the heat became too strong. Animals were fed at nearly the same hour every day. Children learned their tasks by watching their parents repeat them year after year. Nothing needed to happen quickly. Instead, life followed patterns that were familiar, comforting, and deeply trusted. That quiet sense of order did not appear by accident. It grew slowly from countless small actions repeated across generations. As the night grows deeper, a family sleeps together inside a modest home near the river. The house is simple. Its walls are thick enough to keep some of the heat outside during the day. The roof is flat, made from wooden beams covered with reeds and packed earth. Inside, the rooms are small but carefully arranged. Clay jars stand against one wall, each holding grain, oil, or fresh water collected earlier in the day. A woven basket rests beside a grinding stone. Near the doorway, a pair of sandals waits patiently for morning. Nothing inside the home is placed without purpose. Every object has earned its place through daily use. The family sleeps on simple mats woven from reeds gathered near the Nile. Linen cloth covers them lightly against the cooler air that arrives before dawn. Children sleep close to their parents. Outside, a donkey shifts its weight softly before settling once again beneath a small shelter. The village is quiet enough that even distant sounds seem close. A dog barks only once. Then silence returns. Hours pass gently. Far to the east, where the sky meets the desert, darkness begins almost invisibly to soften. The stars remain bright, yet the edge of the world slowly becomes gray instead of black. Morning is approaching. Long before the sun appears, the first people awaken. An elderly woman rises carefully from her sleeping mat. She has followed this same pattern for many decades. Her movements are slow, practiced, and almost silent. She does not need bright light to find her way around the familiar room. She reaches for a small clay lamp. A wick floats inside a little pool of oil. With steady hands she lights the flame. The tiny light flickers against the mud brick walls, revealing shelves shaped directly into the house itself. Clay bowls cast soft shadows. Woven baskets glow golden in the gentle light. Soon another family member wakes. Then another. No one rushes. The day is long. There is no need to hurry before it has even begun. Outside, the air still feels cool enough to breathe comfortably. The heat of yesterday has faded during the night, and everyone knows these quiet hours before sunrise are precious. The woman kneels beside a large grinding stone. She pours dried grain into its shallow hollow. Then she begins. Forward. Back. Forward. Back. The stone moves with a slow scraping sound that has greeted Egyptian mornings for countless generations. The rhythm is steady. Almost musical. Children often wake hearing this sound. To them, it means breakfast is coming. It means another ordinary day has begun. Flour slowly gathers beneath the stone. Later it will become bread, one of the most familiar foods in every Egyptian household. Bread is not simply a meal. It is the center of daily life. Every family depends upon it. Every worker carries it. Every child grows up eating it. The smell of fresh dough soon begins to fill the small house. Nearby, another family prepares onions, beans, and dried herbs collected from small gardens beside irrigation canals. Simple food. Reliable food. Food that asks only for patience and careful hands. Outside, more lamps begin glowing across the village. Small circles of warm light appear one after another. Without anyone giving orders, the entire settlement slowly wakes together. A fisherman lifts his woven net from a wooden peg. A farmer checks the rope tied around his donkey. A potter stretches stiff shoulders before another day beside the kiln. Each person knows where to go. Each person understands what must be done. This shared understanding creates a quiet kind of order that no loud voice could ever replace. The streets between the houses are narrow and dusty. They have been walked so often that every stone seems familiar. Sandals leave gentle prints in the earth before the morning breeze slowly smooths them away. Neighbors greet one another with calm words. There is little need for long conversations. Most have seen each other every day for years. Some for an entire lifetime. Children carry small baskets. Older boys help guide goats toward nearby grazing land. Girls help fetch fresh water before the lines become longer later in the morning. No one thinks these tasks are unusual. They simply belong to life. As dawn finally arrives, sunlight spreads across the eastern sky with remarkable softness. The first rays touch the tops of palm trees before reaching the roofs of the houses. Birds become more active among the reeds. The Nile begins reflecting bands of pale gold. Mist hangs low over the water for a little while before quietly disappearing beneath the growing warmth. The river is already alive. Small boats drift away from shore. Their wooden hulls creak gently against the current. Fishermen work without haste, lowering woven traps into familiar places where they have caught fish many times before. They know the moods of the river almost as well as they know their own families. Some sections flow quietly. Others hide deeper channels. Certain bends attract fish during one season but not another. Knowledge like this is never written. It passes from parent to child through years of quiet observation. That too is part of Egypt's order. Not everything depends upon written rules. Much depends upon memory. The sun continues climbing. Its warmth slowly spreads across the fields beyond the village. Farmers begin walking narrow paths between irrigation channels that carry precious water into growing crops. The earth beneath their feet is dark from the Nile's annual flood. This rich soil has supported families for generations. Without it, little could survive beneath the desert sun. Water must be watched carefully. Small gates made from packed earth control its movement. One farmer opens a channel. Another closes one farther away. No shouting is needed. Each understands when it is his turn. The fields themselves seem almost peaceful enough to breathe. Rows of barley sway gently. Young vegetables push through damp soil. Date palms cast long morning shadows that will slowly shrink as the day grows warmer. Workers pause now and then to wipe sweat from their faces, though the hardest heat has not yet arrived. There is comfort in beginning work early. The cool hours are a gift. Soon, the sounds of the village blend together into one calm and familiar song. Grinding stones. Donkeys. Children laughing. Water splashing against clay jars. Wooden wheels turning. Footsteps along dusty roads. None of these sounds are loud. Together they create the quiet heartbeat of ordinary Egyptian life. And every ordinary day, repeated patiently over centuries, helps keep an entire civilization in balance. The morning grows a little brighter with each passing moment, though the air still carries the coolness that disappears long before midday. Across the fields, tiny drops of moisture cling to blades of grass near the irrigation canals. They will not last for long. Soon the sun will warm every stone, every wall, every patch of earth until the whole valley seems to breathe with quiet heat. For now, the land still feels gentle. The village has fully awakened. Smoke rises from small cooking fires, drifting lazily into the clear sky before fading almost without a trace. The smell of fresh bread moves through the narrow streets, mixing with the scent of damp river mud, woven reeds, and the faint sweetness of dates drying on woven mats outside several homes. A young boy steps carefully from his family's doorway carrying a clay jar almost as large as his chest. His hands grip it tightly. He has carried water many times before, but he still walks with great care, watching every step along the uneven ground. He follows a familiar path toward the river. Others are already there. Women kneel beside the quiet water, filling jars one after another. Their movements are smooth and practiced. They lower each vessel gently beneath the surface, allowing it to fill slowly before lifting it back onto the shore. No water is wasted. The Nile provides life. Everyone understands this. Children learn its importance long before they can explain it with words. Nearby, an older man repairs a woven basket while waiting for his grandson to finish collecting water. The basket has broken in only one place, where a reed has dried and snapped after many months of use. Instead of throwing it away, he patiently threads a fresh strip through the old weaving. His fingers move slowly. There is no hurry. Many things in Egypt are repaired rather than replaced. Wood is valuable. Strong fibers are valuable. Good tools are valuable. Even simple objects deserve careful attention because they help make tomorrow easier. As the villagers return home with their heavy jars balanced on shoulders or supported against their hips, the dusty road becomes busier. Sandals press soft marks into the earth. Donkeys carry bundles of reeds harvested along the riverbank. A few goats wander close behind their owners, occasionally stopping to nibble at whatever green leaves they can find. The village itself feels like a living thing. Every household contributes something. One family shapes pottery. Another weaves linen. Another gathers fish. Another grows vegetables. Another keeps bees inside simple clay hives. Each depends quietly upon the others. No single person produces everything needed for daily life. Instead, order grows through cooperation so ordinary that few people stop to notice it. In one corner of the village, a potter begins his work. His workshop is little more than a shaded space beside his home. A simple wheel rests on the ground before him. Nearby, lumps of damp clay wait beneath wet cloth to keep them from drying too quickly in the morning sun. He sits comfortably. His feet begin turning the wheel. Slowly. Steadily. His hands rise around the spinning clay. Almost immediately, a rough lump begins changing shape. First a thick cylinder. Then a rounded bowl. Then a graceful storage jar with smooth sides and a narrow neck. His fingers leave faint lines that disappear beneath gentle strokes of wet hands. There is something peaceful about watching clay respond to quiet pressure. Nothing sudden happens. The shape grows little by little. The potter has made thousands of vessels during his lifetime. Some have carried water. Others have stored grain. Many have held oil, beer, or dried fruit. Few people ever think about who made them. Yet without skilled hands like his, everyday life would become much more difficult. Nearby, another craftsman smooths the handle of a wooden tool. The piece of wood is small. Wood itself is precious in Egypt. Large forests do not grow beside the Nile. Much timber arrives from distant lands through careful trade. Because of this, every scrap is used wisely. Even broken handles are sometimes reshaped into smaller tools instead of being thrown away. Nothing useful is wasted if it can still serve another purpose. The same careful thinking appears inside nearly every home. A torn linen cloth becomes cleaning rags. Old baskets become containers for firewood. Cracked pottery holds garden plants. The rhythm of daily life encourages patience. Patience becomes habit. Habit becomes order. As the morning continues, the village children begin helping with simple chores. No one expects them to carry the heaviest burdens. There will be many years ahead for that. Instead, they learn by watching. A little girl carefully gathers loose pieces of straw scattered near the doorway. Her mother smiles softly without interrupting her work. Across the courtyard, an older sister shapes small rounds of dough beneath watchful eyes. Her hands are still clumsy compared to her mother's, but they improve each day. Learning happens slowly. There are few formal lessons for ordinary children. Most knowledge passes quietly through imitation. One season becomes another. One child becomes an adult. One generation teaches the next almost without realizing it. This steady passing of experience helps Egypt remain familiar through countless years. Along the edge of the village, scribes are already at work. Their place is different from the noisy workshops. Their room feels calmer. Cooler. Shelves hold rolled sheets of papyrus. Clay jars contain ink carefully prepared from soot mixed with water and natural gum. Bundles of reed pens rest neatly beside wooden writing boards. The scribes sit cross-legged with remarkable patience. They write slowly. Each symbol must be clear. Each mark has meaning. Their work records harvests, stores of grain, payments, workers, livestock, and supplies moving between villages. Writing allows memory to travel farther than any single person's lifetime. While many villagers cannot read the elegant symbols covering the papyrus sheets, they understand that someone must keep these careful records. The scribes do not often raise their voices. They ask questions quietly. They listen. They write. Sometimes they pause to blow gently across fresh ink before rolling another sheet. Outside, life continues without interruption. The smell of baking bread grows stronger as ovens become hotter. Egyptian ovens are simple but effective. Many are shaped from clay, with a rounded chamber that traps heat inside. Dry branches, reeds, and straw burn until the walls themselves become warm enough for baking. The fire dies down. Then flat rounds of dough are placed inside. Soon the air fills with the comforting smell of fresh bread. Families know the scent well. It signals that the busiest part of the morning is passing. Workers pause briefly to eat. Bread is often shared with onions, beans, herbs, dates, or small pieces of fish. Some drink beer brewed from grain. It is thick, nourishing, and safer than water that has stood too long beneath the hot sun. Meals are simple. There is little ceremony. Most people eat while sitting on woven mats beneath patches of shade wherever they can find them. Conversation remains gentle. People speak about crops, weather, neighbors, family, and the condition of the canals. No one can ignore the canals for very long. They are as important as the river itself. Without them, fields farther from the Nile would quickly dry beneath the relentless Egyptian sun. Several men walk slowly along one of these channels now. Each carries a wooden shovel. The canal has gathered a little silt during recent weeks. If left alone, the water will flow less freely. So they begin removing the soft mud. One shovel after another. The work is repetitive. Heavy. Quiet. Sweat forms quickly despite the still young day. Yet no one complains loudly. The task simply belongs to everyone. Keeping water moving is not only good for one family. It helps the whole community. The farmers understand this deeply. When canals remain clear, fields stay healthy. When fields stay healthy, granaries remain full. When granaries remain full, villages survive difficult seasons. Order often begins with very small acts. Removing a little mud today prevents greater trouble many months later. As the sun climbs higher, the warmth becomes harder to ignore. The cool breeze that welcomed the morning slowly fades. Stone walls begin storing heat. The dusty roads become brighter beneath the growing light. Workers wrap linen cloth around their heads to protect themselves. Others pause beside wells or shaded trees for a brief drink before continuing. The pace naturally slows. No one wastes energy moving faster than necessary. Ancient Egypt teaches patience every day. Even the animals understand it. Oxen pull wooden plows at an unhurried pace. Donkeys stop whenever they find a patch of shade. Cats stretch lazily atop warm walls, opening their eyes only when something nearby catches their attention. A flock of ducks waddles toward the river, guided gently by two children carrying long reeds. Their soft voices barely disturb the peaceful morning. Farther along the Nile, fishermen return with their first catch. The boats slide quietly against muddy banks. Fresh fish glisten in woven baskets as families gather nearby. Some fish will be eaten today. Others will be cleaned, salted, and dried beneath the powerful sun for future meals. Preserving food requires care. Too much moisture and it spoils. Too much heat too quickly and it hardens unevenly. Experience teaches the proper balance. No written instructions are needed. Only years of quiet practice. A merchant arrives shortly afterward leading two donkeys loaded with goods from another settlement farther down the river. Their packs hold pottery, woven cloth, dried herbs, and carefully tied bundles of papyrus. He greets familiar faces as though continuing conversations that have lasted for many years. Trade is rarely hurried. People examine each item carefully. Hands run gently over smooth pottery. Linen is held toward the light. Grain is poured through patient fingers. Trust grows slowly between neighbors who have exchanged goods season after season. A fair reputation becomes as valuable as the goods themselves. No one wishes to be known for dishonest measures. such a name would linger for many years. So careful weighing, careful counting, and careful promises become another quiet form of daily order. The village continues its gentle rhythm beneath the strengthening sun. Nothing appears grand. Nothing seems extraordinary. Yet thousands of villages just like this, each following familiar routines with patient hands and steady hearts, together formed one of history's longest-lasting civilizations. And as the day quietly moves toward the heat of midday, those ordinary routines continue, almost as naturally as the Nile itself flowing patiently toward the distant sea. By the time the sun reaches higher into the clear blue sky, the cool comfort of the early morning has quietly slipped away. The warmth that first touched the tops of the palm trees now settles across the fields, the roads, and the rooftops of every mud-brick home. The air feels heavier. Even the breeze slows, as though it, too, has become tired beneath the bright Egyptian sun. The shadows that stretched long across the village at dawn have grown much shorter now. Workers notice the change without looking directly at the sky. They have watched these shadows every day of their lives. The movement of light has become another quiet clock, guiding the hours without bells or spoken reminders. A farmer pauses beside a narrow irrigation channel. He kneels carefully and lets cool river water run across his hands before washing the dust from his face. Tiny ripples spread outward until they disappear beneath the reflection of the bright morning light. The water feels refreshing for only a few moments before the warmth returns again. He stands slowly. There is still much work to do. The fields cannot wait simply because the day has grown hotter. Nearby, another farmer bends over rows of young barley. His hands move carefully among the plants, pulling away small weeds that compete for water and sunlight. The task is simple, almost quiet enough to disappear into the sounds of the countryside. Soft wind brushes through the grain. Birds call from distant reeds. An ox exhales deeply while standing beneath the weight of a wooden yoke. Nothing rushes. The entire landscape seems to breathe at the slow pace of ordinary life. Across the fields, groups of workers spread themselves naturally over the land. They do not crowd together unless the work requires it. Each person understands where they belong. Some carry baskets filled with seeds saved from earlier harvests. Others repair the low earthen walls that separate one irrigation channel from another. A few inspect the small gates that guide water into different fields. These gates are simple structures made from packed mud, reeds, and carefully placed stones. Yet they hold great importance. Opening one at the wrong moment could leave another family's crops thirsty. Because of this, every farmer pays close attention. There is quiet cooperation. One man lifts a barrier. Another lowers one farther away. Water changes direction almost silently. Soon it spreads through the waiting soil exactly where it is needed. No loud instructions are exchanged. The work has become familiar through years of repetition. Knowledge lives inside routine. The Nile itself continues flowing beside them with steady confidence. Its broad surface sparkles beneath the sunlight, though beneath that gentle appearance the current carries cool water from lands far to the south. Most people living beside the river will never see its distant beginnings. They do not need to. For them, the Nile is simply always there. It rises. It falls. It nourishes. It provides. Its dependable rhythm becomes part of their own. A pair of fishermen guide a narrow wooden boat close to the riverbank. Their morning catch rests inside woven baskets lined with damp reeds to keep the fish fresh for as long as possible. One of the men untangles a section of net while the other quietly inspects each knot. Fishing nets require constant care. A single broken thread may seem unimportant. But underwater, one small opening can allow several fish to escape. so repairs are made patiently. The fisherman threads new cord through the damaged section with practiced fingers. His movements are slow enough to seem almost peaceful. The gentle splash of water against the side of the boat becomes the only sound for several moments. Nearby, children watch from the shore. One little boy kneels in the damp mud, carefully shaping tiny boats with his hands. He pushes them toward the water and watches them float for only a short distance before they gently sink. He smiles quietly. There is no disappointment. Tomorrow he will build them again. His father notices him but says nothing. He remembers making the same little boats when he was young. Some traditions require no words. Back inside the village, the workshops remain busy despite the growing heat. The potter has already shaped many vessels since sunrise. Now the newest jars stand in neat rows beneath a shaded roof where they can dry slowly before entering the kiln. The clay changes almost hour by hour. Soft surfaces become firm. Moist earth becomes something much stronger. The potter walks among his work, touching each piece lightly with his fingertips. He knows by feel whether the clay is ready. Experience has taught him what no measuring tool can. The kiln nearby radiates warmth even before fresh fuel is added. The smell of baked earth hangs gently in the still air. Not far away, a linen weaver sits before a simple wooden loom. Threads stretch tightly between smooth beams polished by years of use. She works with calm concentration. Her fingers guide each strand across the others. Back and forth. Again and again. The pattern grows so slowly that an observer might think nothing is changing. Yet after many patient movements, a beautiful length of cloth begins to appear. Linen is everywhere in Egyptian life. Clothing, bedding, sacks, bandages, curtains, sails for river boats. Almost every household depends upon it in one way or another. Growing flax, spinning thread, and weaving cloth require many hours of steady attention. There are few shortcuts. Only careful hands. The weaver pauses briefly to stretch her shoulders. The morning has already become long. Outside her doorway, two young girls twist loose fibers into thread while talking softly about a coming festival in a nearby village. Their conversation rises and falls like the breeze itself. Gentle. Unhurried. Comfortable. An elderly grandmother sits beside them, occasionally correcting their work with kind advice. She rarely needs to explain twice. The girls have watched her spin thread for as long as they can remember. Learning happens naturally. The rhythm of the hands teaches almost as much as spoken words. Farther along the dusty street, the scent of bread returns once more. Another batch has finished baking. A baker carefully removes warm loaves from the clay oven using a long wooden paddle darkened by years of smoke. The crusts are golden brown. Steam escapes through tiny cracks as each loaf cools upon woven trays. The smell drifts through nearby homes, drawing smiles from tired workers returning for a short midday meal. Inside one small courtyard, a family gathers beneath the welcome shade of a sycamore fig tree. Its broad leaves soften the sunlight, creating cool patches upon the packed earth below. The meal is simple. Fresh bread. Onions. A small bowl of lentils. A few dates. Pieces of salted fish caught earlier in the week. Clay cups filled with beer rest beside each family member. Nobody speaks very much while eating. The work has already demanded much of their strength. The quiet itself feels comforting. Occasionally someone passes another piece of bread. A child asks for more dates. A grandfather smiles as he watches the youngest member of the family struggle to hold a loaf with both hands. Simple moments like these repeat across Egypt every day. Thousands of families pause beneath shade wherever they can find it. Some rest beside palm trees. Others beneath woven reed shelters. Many simply lean against the cool side of a mud-brick wall that has not yet absorbed the full afternoon heat. Rest is not laziness. It is wisdom. The hottest hours require patience. Even animals seek relief. Goats gather beneath trees. Dogs curl into narrow strips of shadow beside houses. Donkeys lower their heads and stand almost motionless. Only flies continue moving with endless determination. A woman walks quietly through the village carrying a woven basket balanced upon her head. Inside are herbs collected earlier that morning. Mint, coriander, dill. Fresh green leaves release a pleasant scent each time the basket shifts. She plans to dry many of them beneath light cloth where warm air can pass through while protecting them from dust. Nothing grows carelessly. Every useful plant receives attention. Nearby, another woman prepares small jars of oil. She wipes each clay vessel clean before sealing it carefully with linen and wax. The oil will be used for cooking, for lamps, and for protecting skin from the dry air. Every household stores supplies for weeks ahead whenever possible. No one knows exactly what each season will bring. Preparation itself becomes another form of order. Across the village square, a merchant has spread woven mats upon the ground. His goods are arranged with remarkable neatness. Small baskets of dried figs. Bundles of papyrus. Clay beads. Copper tools. Folded linen. Nothing is piled carelessly. Each item has its place. Customers arrive gradually. There is little bargaining filled with loud voices. Instead, people examine each object patiently. Hands test the sharpness of a blade. Fingers feel the smooth weave of cloth. Eyes inspect a clay jar for tiny cracks. A fair exchange depends upon trust built over many years. The merchant understands that honesty brings people back season after season. As the afternoon slowly approaches, the sunlight grows brighter still. The white walls of larger buildings reflect the light so strongly that travelers narrow their eyes while walking the dusty roads. Sand clings to sandals. Sweat gathers beneath linen clothing. Every movement feels slightly heavier than it did at dawn. Yet the work continues. Not because anyone demands constant effort, but because each task completed today makes tomorrow a little easier. The village moves forward with quiet determination, one ordinary hour at a time, while beyond the fields the patient Nile continues its endless journey, carrying cool water through the heart of Egypt just as it has for countless generations, and just as it will continue to do long after the afternoon sun begins its slow and gentle path toward the western horizon. The afternoon settles gently across the valley, bringing with it a quiet stillness that belongs only to the hottest part of the day. The bright light softens every color. The fields appear almost silver where the sun reflects from narrow channels of water. The mud-brick walls of the village glow with a warm golden shade, and the roads seem to shimmer beneath the steady heat. The air itself feels slow. Even the smallest movements seem measured. A few wisps of smoke rise from cooking fires that have nearly burned down to glowing coals. They drift upward without much wind to carry them, climbing into the pale blue sky before quietly disappearing. Many of the hardest morning tasks have already been completed. Now the village enters a different rhythm. It is not a time of complete rest, nor is it as busy as dawn. Instead, people choose work that can be done in shade whenever possible. Inside one home, an elderly man sits near a small window where a gentle current of air passes through the room. The opening is narrow, carefully built into the thick wall. It lets in enough light to work comfortably while keeping much of the heat outside. Across his lap rests a pair of worn leather sandals. The straps have loosened after many months of walking dusty roads. Patiently, he threads fresh leather through the old holes. His fingers move slowly. The work asks for attention more than strength. Nearby, his granddaughter watches closely. She says very little. Every few moments she reaches for another strip of leather or hands him a simple tool made from polished bone. Without realizing it, she is learning. Not from lessons spoken aloud, but from quiet observation. This is how many skills pass from one generation to the next. Not inside large schools. Not through long written instructions, but through countless peaceful afternoons shared between family members. Outside, the village lanes have grown quieter. Children who spent the morning running between houses now rest beneath shaded porches. Some play simple games with smooth pebbles collected from the riverbank. Others draw patterns in the dust using thin sticks before the breeze gently erases their work. Nothing needs to last forever. Tomorrow they will draw again. Near one doorway, two sisters weave baskets from long strips of fresh papyrus. The reeds were gathered several days earlier while they were still green and flexible. Now they bend easily beneath careful hands. One strip crosses another. Then another. Slowly the basket begins to grow upward from its flat base. The pattern repeats again and again. The movements are so familiar that conversation flows without interrupting the work. They speak softly about neighbors, about the condition of the fields, about a cousin who recently married in another village farther along the Nile. Their voices rise only slightly above the quiet sounds surrounding them. A donkey shakes its ears. A pigeon lands upon a rooftop. Somewhere beyond the houses, a goat calls once before returning to its afternoon meal. The village breathes with calm certainty. Farther down the road, a group of laborers gathers beneath a broad tamarisk tree. They drink cool water stored inside large clay jars. The jars themselves help keep the water pleasant. Tiny amounts slowly pass through the porous clay and evaporate on the outside, gently cooling what remains within. Each man lifts a cup with grateful hands. No one drinks quickly. Water is precious. Every sip is appreciated. One worker leans back against the rough trunk of the tree and closes his eyes for a few moments. His shoulders carry the weariness of many seasons. The muscles in his hands are thick from lifting stone, shaping mud brick, carrying grain, and digging canals. His body tells the story of ordinary work. It is a story shared by thousands of others across Egypt. Their names will never be carved onto monuments. Yet without them, fields would not be planted. Homes would not be built. Roads would disappear beneath drifting sand. The quiet order of Egypt rests upon countless unseen hands. Not far away, a small team repairs part of a village wall. The bricks have begun to crumble where rain from many seasons ago slowly weakened the lower edge. Fresh mud is mixed with chopped straw until it reaches the proper texture. The mixture is pressed firmly into wooden molds. One by one, new bricks are shaped and placed carefully in the sun to dry. There is nothing hurried about the process. A brick that dries too quickly may crack. One that remains too wet cannot support weight. The builders understand the patience required. They have learned to trust time. As they work, swallows dart overhead, catching insects that drift above the warm ground. Their quick movements stand in gentle contrast to the slow pace of the people below. A child watches the birds with quiet fascination before returning to help carry small baskets of straw. Even the youngest members of the village contribute in small ways. Their tasks are never as heavy as those of adults. but they learn responsibility little by little. A basket carried today becomes confidence tomorrow. A simple chore repeated through many seasons slowly becomes skill. Near the edge of the settlement, a scribe sits beneath a shaded shelter beside a wooden table. Several farmers approach him throughout the afternoon. Some bring small bundles of grain. Others report the number of animals born during recent weeks. The scribe listens carefully. He asks calm questions. Then he records each answer upon smooth sheets of papyrus. His reed pen moves with remarkable precision. Each sign is formed with steady pressure. There is no wasted motion. The ink dries quickly beneath the warm air. Occasionally he pauses to stretch his fingers before beginning another line. His work may seem quiet compared to those laboring in the fields. Yet these careful records help villages remain organized through changing seasons. Knowing how much grain has been stored. Knowing how many workers are available. Knowing which canals require repair. These details allow daily life to continue with fewer surprises. Order often grows from remembering small things faithfully. The afternoon light begins to change almost without notice. The sharp brightness of midday softens just enough to make distant palm trees appear clearer against the horizon. Long shadows have not yet returned, but they are slowly beginning their journey. Along the riverbank, fishermen prepare for another outing. Morning and evening often bring the most favorable conditions. They inspect their boats once more. Wooden pegs are tightened. Ropes are coiled neatly. Nets are folded with great care so they will open properly when thrown into the water. One fisherman runs his hand along the smooth side of his boat. The wood feels warm beneath the afternoon sun. He remembers helping his father repair this same vessel many years ago. Since then, countless journeys have begun from this very shore. The river has changed with each season. The boat has aged. The fisherman himself has grown older. Yet the quiet routine remains. Nearby, a woman rinses linen cloth in the gentle current. She lifts each piece slowly from the water before spreading it across smooth stones to dry beneath the sunlight. The breeze, though light, helps the fabric move gently. The clean linen glows softly against the darker earth. Its simple beauty comes not from decoration, but from careful work. Children splash at the edge of the river under watchful eyes. Their laughter carries lightly across the water. They know not to wander too far. The Nile gives life, but it also asks for respect. Parents teach this lesson early. Not with fear, but with quiet reminders repeated many times. An older brother reaches out a steady hand to help his younger sister climb onto the bank. She smiles. Together they carry a small basket filled with smooth shells and polished stones they have gathered along the shore. Treasures for children. Simple gifts from the river. Farther upstream, reeds sway gently whenever the breeze returns. Small birds disappear among them almost silently. Dragonflies skim low across the surface, their wings catching flashes of sunlight. The entire landscape seems wrapped in peaceful repetition. Nothing feels rushed. Nothing feels uncertain. Each hour follows another with calm confidence. As the afternoon slowly matures, the smell of warm earth becomes stronger. Freshly repaired bricks continue drying beneath the sun. Loaves baked earlier have cooled inside shaded homes. Clay jars filled with grain stand quietly against thick walls. Animals begin stirring once again after their midday rest. Goats wander toward nearby fields. Donkeys shake dust from their coats before carrying another small load. People emerge from the deepest shade, ready to finish the remaining work before evening. The village gradually awakens from its afternoon stillness. Not with sudden noise, but with the familiar rhythm that has guided life here for generations. Step by step, task by task, neighbor beside neighbor. Everything moves with the gentle certainty of people who understand that order is not created by grand moments alone, but by thousands of ordinary actions carried out with patience, care, and quiet trust as another peaceful Egyptian day slowly turns toward the cooler hours of evening. The afternoon slowly begins to loosen its hold upon the land. The fierce brightness that covered the valley only a short while ago becomes softer with each passing moment. The sun still hangs high above the western desert, yet its light no longer feels quite as sharp. Shadows begin to stretch once again across the dusty paths between the homes. Palm trees paint long patterns across the fields, and the quiet waters of the Nile reflect a warmer shade of gold. A breeze returns. It is only a small breeze. But after the heavy stillness of midday, it feels welcome. The leaves of date palms rustle gently. Reeds along the riverbank sway back and forth with slow, graceful movements. The air carries the familiar scent of damp earth mixed with warm stone that has spent many hours beneath the sun. Across the village, people naturally begin the second half of their day's work. The rhythm changes almost without anyone noticing. Morning had belonged to preparing, planting, carrying, and building. Now the afternoon is filled with finishing, repairing, gathering, and returning. Nothing feels hurried. There is still enough daylight. An older farmer walks slowly through a field of barley that reaches almost to his waist. He carries no heavy tools now. Instead, he pauses every few steps, looking carefully over the growing plants. His eyes notice things that others might overlook. A patch where the soil has become slightly dry. A narrow channel where the water is flowing a little too quickly. A broken reed marking the edge of a field. These are small details. Yet small details matter. He bends down and presses a little loose earth against the edge of an irrigation channel. The water immediately changes its course, spreading more evenly across the roots of the waiting grain. It is only a handful of mud. A task lasting less than a minute. But tomorrow morning the plants will drink more evenly because of it. Across Egypt, thousands of such tiny acts quietly protect the harvest. No one sings about them. No monuments remember them. Yet they happen every day. Nearby, two brothers lead a pair of oxen away from the fields. The animals have worked since shortly after sunrise. Now they walk slowly toward a shaded enclosure beside the village. The younger brother pats one animal gently along its neck. The ox exhales deeply, its broad sides rising and falling with calm, steady breaths. A wooden yoke is lifted away with practiced hands. The skin beneath it is checked carefully for signs of rubbing or soreness. Animals are valuable companions in daily work. Healthy animals help families survive. Their care becomes another ordinary responsibility woven into the fabric of everyday life. A young girl arrives carrying fresh bundles of reeds gathered earlier beside the river. She places them neatly beneath a shelter where they will dry for future use. Some will become baskets. Others will strengthen mud bricks. Some may repair the roof of a home before the next season arrives. Nothing is placed carelessly. The bundles are tied according to length. The strongest reeds rest together. The thinner stems are stacked separately. Order begins long before the materials are actually needed. Inside one home, an elderly woman carefully opens several large clay storage jars. The room is pleasantly cool compared with the warmth outside. The thick walls protect the grain stored within. She runs her hand through a handful of barley. The kernels feel dry, clean, free from insects. She smiles softly. The grain has been kept well. The jars themselves stand in quiet rows against the wall, each covered with a fitted clay lid sealed with woven cloth. Every few days they are inspected. Not because anyone expects trouble, but because careful habits prevent small problems from becoming larger ones. She replaces each lid gently before brushing away a little dust from the floor. The room falls silent again. Outside, life continues at its patient pace. Along the dusty road leading toward the river, several merchants arrive with donkeys carrying goods from neighboring villages. The animals walk steadily beneath carefully balanced loads. Bundles of flax, jars of honey, baskets filled with onions, smooth pottery wrapped in woven cloth. The merchants greet familiar faces with warm smiles. Many have traveled this route countless times. They know which families grow the finest vegetables. They know which potter shapes the strongest jars. They know where fresh bread can usually be found before sunset. Their journeys are not adventures. They are part of the quiet rhythm of the Nile. Trade moves as steadily as the river itself. In the center of the village, people gather beneath a large sycamore tree where the afternoon shade has become broad and welcoming. A merchant unties his bundles one by one. Nothing is displayed in haste. Each item is placed carefully upon woven mats spread across the ground. A folded length of fine linen. Small copper knives polished until they catch the afternoon light. Clay lamps with smooth rounded edges. Wooden spoons carved from precious imported timber. Women examine the cloth with gentle fingers. A farmer weighs a copper blade in his hand before nodding with quiet approval. Two neighbors discuss the quality of a basket woven during the previous month. The conversations are calm. No one pushes. No one shouts. Everyone understands that trust has taken many years to build. Fair dealing protects the community as surely as strong walls. Nearby, a scribe watches several exchanges while quietly updating his records. His reed pen glides across fresh papyrus. The scratching sound is soft enough to disappear beneath the voices of the people around him. He writes carefully, one line after another. He pauses occasionally, lifting the pen while considering the proper sign before continuing. His work asks for patience rather than speed. Mistakes are corrected immediately. Accuracy matters. Not because perfection is demanded, but because clear records help everyone understand what has been exchanged. The order of the village depends upon memory strengthened by writing. Children pass by, carrying small bundles of firewood collected from dry branches and fallen reeds. They compete quietly to see who can carry the larger bundle. Their laughter drifts through the warm afternoon air before fading again into the gentle sounds of daily work. An elderly neighbor smiles as they pass. He remembers carrying wood with his own brothers many years ago. The memories return easily. Some parts of life hardly change at all. As the sunlight continues to soften, more people make their way toward the Nile. Not for heavy work now. Simply to prepare for evening. Women fill fresh jars with water for cooking and washing. Young boys rinse baskets that carried vegetables during the day. A fisherman kneels beside his boat, smoothing a little fresh resin into a narrow crack between two planks. The repair is small, almost invisible. Yet he knows that tiny openings become larger if ignored. The resin glistens in the warm light before slowly hardening. He runs his thumb gently across the surface. Satisfied, he nods to himself. His boat will be ready for another morning. Farther along the shore, several older fishermen sit together beneath the shade of tall reeds. Their nets lie spread before them. They speak little. Their hands remain busy. Each knot is checked. Each broken strand is replaced. The net grows stronger with every careful repair. The repetitive movement becomes almost peaceful. Thread through the loop. Pull gently. Tighten. Move to the next. Again. 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 Nearby, a young apprentice watches every motion. His own fingers are slower. Sometimes they hesitate. Occasionally he ties a knot too tightly or leaves one too loose. An older fisherman quietly unties it and demonstrates once more. There is no impatience. Only steady teaching. Skills that protect tomorrow's catch deserve calm instruction. The apprentice tries again. This time the knot rests perfectly. No praise is needed. The older man simply smiles. The lesson has been understood. As the afternoon edges closer to evening, birds begin returning toward the reeds lining the riverbanks. White egrets step gracefully through the shallow water, searching for small fish. Swallows circle overhead before disappearing beneath the roofs of familiar homes. A flock of ducks glides quietly across a calm stretch of river, leaving gentle ripples that spread wider and wider before fading into stillness. The light now feels almost golden. The desert hills beyond the western edge of the valley begin changing color. Their pale stone takes on soft shades of amber and rose. Everything seems quieter. Not because fewer people are working, but because the entire landscape appears to slow together. The day's hardest labor is nearly complete. Soon families will return home. Bread will be warmed once more. Simple meals will be shared. Children will grow sleepy. Lamps will be lit one by one. Yet for now, the village lingers peacefully in these gentle afternoon hours, where the warm breeze, the quiet river, the dusty roads, and the patient hands of ordinary people continue the endless routines that have kept Egypt in careful balance for generations beyond counting. The sun slowly leans toward the western horizon, and the long afternoon begins its gentle walk into evening. The light becomes softer with every passing moment, wrapping the valley in warm shades of amber and pale gold. The harsh brightness that filled the fields only a short while ago now gives way to a quieter glow, one that rests gently upon the mudbrick walls, the broad leaves of the sycamore trees, and the smooth surface of the Nile. The breeze has become more generous now. It slips through the narrow streets of the village, carrying with it the scent of fresh water, warm earth, and the faint sweetness of drying grain. After many hours beneath the sun, the cooler air feels like a quiet reward shared by everyone. People notice it without speaking. Shoulders relax. Breathing becomes easier. The final hours of work begin. Across the fields, farmers gather their simple tools before walking one last time along the irrigation channels. The water continues its slow journey through the carefully shaped banks, touching each field before returning toward the river. One farmer pauses beside a small opening where water enters his plot. He kneels and presses his hand into the damp soil. The earth is cool beneath the surface. Moist enough. Tomorrow, the crops will not need quite as much water. He gently closes the small earthen gate with his wooden shovel, patting the mud into place with practiced movements. The water changes direction almost silently. Nothing dramatic happens. No one applauds. Yet this quiet decision helps preserve water for another field farther downstream. One careful action becomes another link in a chain of shared responsibility. Across Egypt, countless farmers make similar choices every evening. Each one trusts that others will do the same. It is this quiet trust, repeated day after day, that allows entire communities to flourish beside the river. A little farther away, two young men collect the wooden markers placed earlier in the season to guide the boundaries between neighboring fields. One marker has tilted after a donkey brushed against it. Without discussion, They straighten it together. The boundary belongs to both families. Keeping it clear prevents future confusion. Many disagreements are avoided long before they have a chance to begin. Simple habits often create lasting peace. The oxen that worked throughout the day now return toward the village. Their pace is slow and unhurried. Dust rises gently around their broad hooves before settling again upon the road. The wooden plows they pulled are carried across strong shoulders instead. The tools will spend the night beneath shelter where dew cannot damage the wood. A young boy follows behind his father, carrying a smaller hoe almost as tall as himself. His steps are careful. The tool feels heavy. From time to time his father reaches back without turning around and steadies the handle with one hand. The gesture lasts only a moment. No words are needed. When they reach home, the boy places the hoe beside the doorway exactly where it belongs. He has watched his father do the same every evening. Tomorrow morning, it will be waiting in the same place. Routine quietly shapes memory. Inside another courtyard, several women begin preparing the evening meal. A grinding stone rests upon the packed earth floor. Fresh grain is poured into its hollow center. The familiar rhythm begins once again. Forward. Back. Forward. Back. The smooth scraping sound drifts into the street, joining similar sounds from neighboring homes. The entire village seems connected by these ordinary noises. Nearby, another woman kneads dough inside a wide clay bowl. Her hands press gently into the soft mixture before folding it over itself again and again. She adds a little water. Then a little flour. The dough slowly becomes smooth beneath her palms. A small child watches with great interest. After a few moments, the child reaches forward and presses tiny fingers into the edge of the dough. The mother smiles quietly. Instead of correcting the child, she tears away a small piece and places it into those eager little hands. Soon another pair of tiny fingers begins copying the same movements. Learning begins with imitation. Long before children understand why something is done, they learn how it is done. The smell of baking bread slowly returns to the village. Clay ovens warmed earlier in the day still hold enough heat for another batch. One by one, flat loaves are placed inside. As they bake, the air fills with a rich, comforting aroma that drifts through open doorways and narrow streets. It is one of the most familiar scents in Egypt. Travelers returning home notice it long before they reach their own houses. The smell alone tells them that evening has arrived. Not far from the ovens, a woman carefully slices onions while another stirs a clay pot filled with lentils. A handful of herbs gathered that morning is added near the end of cooking. Fresh coriander. A little dill. Some crushed garlic. Simple ingredients create meals that have nourished families for countless generations. There is no great feast tonight. Most evenings are like this. Ordinary. Comforting. Enough. Across the village, craftsmen finish the final tasks of the day. The potter walks slowly among the jars that dried beneath the afternoon sun. Each vessel is lifted gently. He taps the side with one knuckle. The sound tells him whether the clay has dried evenly. A dull note means the inside remains damp. A clearer sound means the jar is ready for firing. He separates them into careful rows. Tomorrow, before sunrise, the kiln will be prepared again. There is no need to rush tonight. The clay has waited patiently. It can wait until morning. Nearby, the linen weaver folds away her unfinished cloth. She covers the loom with a light linen sheet to protect the threads from dust during the night. The pattern she has been weaving is only halfway complete. It has taken many days already. It will require several more. She is not concerned. Fine work always asks for time. She gently smooths one loose thread before leaving the workshop. The room grows still. Outside, children chase one another through the soft evening light. Their shadows stretch long across the dusty ground. Some play with hoops rolled along the road using curved sticks. Others stack smooth stones into little towers before laughing when they tumble over. The games are simple. The toys are few. Yet their laughter carries easily through the cooling air. Parents glance toward them now and then while continuing their evening chores. No one worries. Every face is familiar. Every child belongs not only to one household but to the wider community. Neighbors notice if someone wanders too far. Older brothers gently guide younger sisters away from the riverbank as darkness slowly approaches. Care is shared quietly. Along the Nile, fishermen return from their final journey of the day. Their boats glide across water now painted with the colors of the setting sun. The river no longer shines with bright silver. Instead, it reflects warm gold, deep orange, and gentle shades of copper. Each stroke of the wooden oars sends slow circles across the calm surface. The only sounds are the splash of water and the occasional call of a water bird settling among the reeds. As the boats reach shore, the day's final catch is carried ashore in woven baskets. Families gather nearby. Some fish will be cooked tonight. Others are cleaned with practiced hands before being salted and laid upon drying racks. Nothing useful is wasted. Even the smallest fish have value. Nearby, a young apprentice carefully washes the fishing nets in fresh river water before hanging them between wooden posts. The evening breeze moves gently through the woven fibers. By morning they will be dry and ready once again. An older fisherman pauses before leaving. He runs his hand lightly across one of the nets. Checking. Feeling. Making certain that no repair has been forgotten. Satisfied, he turns toward home. The village itself now begins to glow with tiny points of light. One clay lamp is lit. Then another. Then another. Their small flames flicker inside open doorways, casting soft golden circles upon mudbrick walls. The lamps do not chase away all the darkness. They simply make it gentle. Smoke from the oil wicks rises in thin twisting lines before disappearing into the evening air. The scent is familiar. Comforting. Home. Families gather together beneath flat roofs or inside cool courtyards where the heat of the day slowly escapes into the deepening sky. Bread is broken. Bowls are passed from hand to hand. The conversation remains quiet. People speak of tomorrow's work. Of a calf born that morning. Of water levels in the canal. Of a neighbor's child learning to write. The words drift slowly through the calm evening. No voice rises above the others. After a day shaped by steady labor, there is little need for hurry. The stars begin appearing once again, one by one, above the broad valley of the Nile. The same stars watched over the grandparents of these families. They will watch over their grandchildren as well. Below them, the quiet routines of ordinary people continue with gentle certainty, preserving the balance of their homes, their village, and their shared life beside the patient river, where another peaceful Egyptian day slowly gives itself to the calm embrace of night. Night settles fully over the valley, not all at once, but with the same gentle patience that has shaped every hour of the day. The last warmth of the sun slowly leaves the stones beneath people's feet. The desert beyond the fields fades into soft darkness, and the broad ribbon of the Nile becomes a quiet mirror beneath the growing stars. The village grows calmer with each passing moment. The sounds of work disappear one by one. The potter's wheel has stopped turning. The carpenter's tools have been put away. The last bundles of reeds have been stacked beneath shelter. Even the donkeys, who carried heavy loads through the afternoon, stand quietly inside their small enclosures, occasionally shifting their weight before becoming still again. From many homes comes the gentle glow of clay lamps. Their flames are small. They do not fill entire rooms with light. Instead, each lamp creates a warm circle that reaches only a little way into the darkness. The edges of the room remain soft and shadowed. Clay jars stand quietly against the walls. Woven baskets cast long shapes across the floor. The flickering light makes every familiar object seem peaceful. Inside one modest home, 3 generations share the evening together. The grandparents sit near the doorway where the cool night air drifts inside. Their son and daughter-in-law finish clearing the simple meal. The youngest children sit cross-legged on woven mats, still awake, though their eyes are beginning to grow heavy. One little boy traces circles in the dust with his finger. His grandmother notices and gently smooths the marks away with her hand. Tomorrow the floor will be swept again. Everything returns to order in its own time. The evening meal has been modest. Warm bread baked only a short while earlier. A bowl of lentils seasoned with herbs. A handful of dates gathered during the previous week. A little dried fish from the river. Fresh water stored all day inside cool clay jars. Nothing remains except a few crumbs. Those crumbs are carefully gathered. Some will feed chickens at first light. Very little is thrown away. People understand the effort hidden inside every loaf of bread. The grain was planted months ago. Water was guided carefully through canals. The harvest was cut beneath the hot sun. The grain was carried home. It was ground into flour. The dough was mixed. The oven was heated. The bread was baked. Each step required patient hands. Each meal carries the memory of many quiet days of work. Near the corner of the room, an elderly woman checks several clay jars before the family prepares to sleep. She lifts each lid carefully. One contains barley. Another holds lentils. Another stores dried onions. She does not count every handful. She has done this for so many years that a single glance tells her almost everything she needs to know. She knows roughly how long each jar will last. She knows when another trip to the market will become necessary. She knows which foods should be eaten first. Experience has become a kind of silent measuring tool. Outside, the narrow streets grow quieter. Only a few neighbors remain awake. A man carries a small oil lamp while walking toward the home of his brother. The light swings gently with every step. Its glow touches the dusty road for only a moment before moving onward. He pauses beside a familiar doorway. Soft voices greet him. There is no urgency. Only an evening visit before everyone rests. Relationships are cared for much like fields or fishing nets. Small, regular attention keeps them strong. Across the village, another family sits upon the flat roof of their home. The thick walls beneath them still hold a little warmth from the day, but the air above is pleasantly cool. From here they can see the river shining beneath the moonlight. Far away, another village is marked only by a few tiny points of lamplight. Between the settlements stretch quiet fields, sleeping beneath the stars. The father points toward the sky. One by one, he names several familiar stars for his oldest daughter. She listens carefully. Sailors know these stars. Travelers know them. Farmers notice how they rise during different seasons. The heavens become another quiet calendar above the Nile. No books are needed tonight. The lesson is carried by memory and gentle conversation. A cool wind passes over the rooftop. The daughter wraps her linen shawl a little more closely around her shoulders. The heat of the day already feels far away. Not long ago the earth shimmered beneath the afternoon sun. Now the same ground feels comfortable beneath bare feet. The desert has its own rhythm. The warmth arrives. The warmth leaves. People have learned to shape their lives around these steady changes. Near the riverbank, the fishermen complete their final tasks before sleep. The boats have been pulled safely onto shore. Wooden oars rest neatly inside each vessel. Fishing nets hang from simple poles where the night breeze can continue drying the fibers. An older fisherman walks slowly along the line of boats. He pauses beside each one. Not because he expects trouble. Simply because habit asks him to look. A loose rope is tightened. A paddle moved farther beneath shelter. A basket turned upside down so dew cannot collect inside. Small acts. Almost invisible. Yet tomorrow morning, before sunrise, every boat will be ready. Preparation today creates calm tomorrow. The river itself has become wonderfully quiet. Only gentle ripples disturb its smooth surface. The moon lays a long silver path across the water. Papyrus reeds whisper softly whenever the breeze returns. Somewhere in the darkness, a fish breaks the surface for only a moment. The sound is brief. Then stillness returns. A nightbird calls once from the marshes. Another answers farther away. The sounds are never loud. They seem to belong naturally to the silence. In one corner of the village, a watchman begins his evening walk. He carries no grand weapon. Only a sturdy wooden staff and a small lamp. His footsteps are slow and steady. Most nights, nothing unusual happens. That is exactly how everyone hopes it will remain. He checks that gates have been closed. He notices a stray goat wandering near the edge of the road and gently guides it back toward its owner's enclosure. He stops beside a small cooking fire that still glows faintly. Using a wooden stick, he spreads the remaining coals so they cool more quickly. Simple care prevents accidents. His work is not dramatic. Few people even notice him. Yet his quiet presence helps everyone sleep peacefully. The moon climbs a little higher. Its pale light reaches across the rooftops, touching clay walls that have stood through many seasons. Some houses are newly repaired. Others have sheltered the same family for generations. Each bears small marks left by weather, wind, and careful hands. Near one doorway rests a worn wooden stool. Its legs are uneven from years of use. Tomorrow morning someone will sit there while mending a basket or repairing a fishing net. Tonight it waits patiently beneath the stars. Inside another home, a young apprentice scribe continues writing by lamplight. Most of the village has already fallen asleep. He dips his reed pen into fresh ink. Carefully he copies familiar symbols onto a clean sheet of papyrus. His teacher has asked him to practice the same lines many times. The work is slow. His wrist grows tired. He pauses often. Accuracy matters more than speed. He knows that one day people will depend upon clear records. Harvests. Grain stores. Workers. Taxes. Temple supplies. All require careful writing. Even now, while the village sleeps, someone quietly prepares for tomorrow's responsibilities. Across the settlement, one lamp after another grows dim. Families roll out woven sleeping mats. Some sleep inside cool rooms. Others choose the rooftops where the night air moves more freely. Children settle close beside their parents. Infants breathe softly beneath light linen coverings. Older people stretch aching backs after another day of honest labor. The village slowly surrenders itself to rest. Only the sounds of insects, distant frogs, and the gentle flowing of the Nile remain. The stars wheel silently overhead, following paths they have traced for countless generations. Below them, Egypt rests not because every task has been completed forever, but because everyone trusts that tomorrow will bring another sunrise, another loaf of bread, another careful journey to the fields, another quiet walk beside the river, and another day in which order is preserved not by grand commands, but by the patient hearts and steady hands of ordinary people living together along the timeless banks of the Nile. The deepest hours of the night arrive quietly. The village rests beneath a sky filled with countless stars, so many that they seem to spill across the heavens like grains of bright sand scattered upon dark linen. The moon has climbed high above the eastern hills, casting a gentle silver light over the rooftops, the fields, and the calm waters of the Nile. Everything feels slower now. Even time itself seems to move with softer footsteps. The warm breath of the desert has faded, replaced by cool air drifting across the valley. It slips through open windows, moves gently over flat rooftops, and passes silently between rows of sleeping homes. Inside those homes, families rest after another ordinary day. A child turns over upon a woven reed mat, pulling a light linen cloth a little closer. Nearby, his younger sister sleeps soundly beside their mother. Their father rests near the doorway, where the cool breeze reaches first. The room is simple. Its walls are smooth with layers of dried mud carefully renewed each year. A few baskets hang from wooden pegs. Clay jars stand quietly in one corner. A bundle of reeds waits to repair part of the roof after the next harvest. The little oil lamp has almost burned itself out. Its tiny flame grows smaller, then steadies once again. Outside, the village streets lie empty. Only footprints remain in the fine dust, left behind by neighbors who walked home after sunset. By morning, the gentle wind may soften many of them until they almost disappear. Tomorrow, new footprints will take their place. The roads remember each day only for a little while. Near the edge of the village, a pair of dogs lie curled together beside a grain store. One raises its head as a jackal calls faintly from somewhere beyond the cultivated land. The sound drifts across the darkness. The dogs listen for a moment. Finding no reason for concern, they settle once more. The grain store stands silent beneath the moonlight. Its thick mudbrick walls protect the harvest gathered with so much effort. Inside, rows of carefully filled bins hold barley and wheat that must last until another growing season. Each handful represents many months of labor. Fields prepared before sunrise. Seeds planted by careful hands. Canals cleaned beneath the hot sun. Water guided across thirsty soil. Harvests carried home in woven baskets. Nothing inside the granary happened by accident. Every grain arrived there through patient work shared by many people. Not far away, a watchman pauses beside the building. He rests one hand against the cool wall. The bricks feel different now than they did during the afternoon. They have slowly released the day's heat into the night air. He listens. The village remains peaceful. Only insects sing from nearby reeds. Satisfied, he continues along his quiet path. He has walked these same streets for many years. He knows every doorway, every courtyard, every family. His eyes notice small things. A gate left partly open. A water jar placed outside before dawn. A basket forgotten beside a workshop. Nothing escapes his gentle attention. He closes the gate. Moves the basket beneath shelter. Then walks on without disturbing anyone's sleep. The moonlight stretches across the Nile in a long silver ribbon. The river seems almost motionless, though beneath the surface the current never truly rests. it continues its ancient journey northward. Patient, steady, reliable. A small fishing boat rocks gently where it is tied to a wooden post. The rope creaks softly. Water touches the side of the boat with slow, quiet splashes. Inside rests a folded fishing net prepared earlier that evening. Tomorrow, long before the first light reaches the eastern horizon, someone will untie the rope and guide the boat back onto the river. For now, both fishermen and boat sleep together beneath the same sky. Across the marshes, frogs begin their familiar chorus. Their voices rise and fall in gentle waves. Hidden among the papyrus, tiny insects answer with soft humming sounds. A heron stands perfectly still in the shallow water. Its reflection appears almost as clear as the bird itself. It waits with remarkable patience. Waiting is part of life here. The fishermen wait for fish. The farmers wait for the flood. The potters wait for clay to dry. The bakers wait for dough to rise. The weavers wait as cloth slowly grows beneath careful hands. Patience is woven into every ordinary day. In another part of the village, an elderly woman wakes briefly. For a moment she listens to the quiet around her. She hears the distant frogs, the breeze moving across the roof, the gentle breathing of her family. Everything sounds as it should. She smiles faintly before closing her eyes once again. There is comfort in familiar sounds. The same peaceful night has returned countless times before. It asks nothing except rest. The cool hours before dawn are precious. They allow tired muscles to recover after long days of lifting, digging, carrying, weaving, and walking. A builder who spent the afternoon shaping mud bricks now sleeps deeply. His hands are rough. Tiny lines of dried clay remain beneath his fingernails despite careful washing. Tomorrow those same hands will shape more bricks. One by one. Patiently. Nearby, a potter dreams while resting beside shelves filled with unfinished jars. The clay waits quietly. It does not hurry him. Morning will arrive soon enough. In another home, a young apprentice scribe sleeps with a practice tablet resting beside his bed. Earlier in the evening he copied rows of careful symbols beneath the light of a single lamp. His fingers had grown tired. His shoulders had become stiff. Yet he continued until each sign looked just a little better than the last. Learning, like everything else in Egypt, grows little by little. The village itself seems to breathe. As the breeze enters one alley, it leaves another. Palm leaves rustle softly. Loose reeds tied upon rooftops whisper against one another. Somewhere a donkey shifts its weight before settling again. A clay jar cools slowly beside a doorway. Nothing demands attention. Nothing disturbs the peaceful rhythm. Far beyond the village, the desert lies beneath pale moonlight. Its rolling hills appear smooth and endless. During the day they seemed bright and hot. Now they rest in cool silence. The desert forms a quiet boundary around a fertile land beside the Nile. Within that narrow green ribbon, life continues because people work together with remarkable care. The contrast is gentle but clear. The fields remain green because water is guided wisely. Homes remain strong because walls are repaired before they weaken. Families remain secure because grain is stored before it is needed. Every season asks for preparation. Preparation becomes habit. Habit becomes order. The stars continue their slow journey across the sky. Some appear brighter than others. Children have learned their patterns from parents and grandparents who once lay beneath these same heavens. Travelers trust them. Sailors watch them. Farmers notice when certain stars return before the annual flooding season. The night sky quietly marks the passing of time without speaking a single word. As the hours move steadily toward dawn, the village remains wrapped in calm stillness. Only the river continues its endless motion, carrying cool water past sleeping homes, resting boats, silent fields, and quiet workshops. Soon the eastern horizon will begin to pale. Grinding stones will sing once more. Bread ovens will warm. Fishing boats will slip into the gentle current. Farmers will walk the dusty paths toward their fields. But those moments have not arrived yet. For now, ancient Egypt rests peacefully beneath the stars, held together by the quiet trust that tomorrow's ordinary routines will begin again, just as they have for generations beyond memory, beside the patient waters of the timeless Nile. The night slowly begins to change. At first, the change is almost impossible to notice. The stars still shine brightly above the broad valley, and the moon continues to cast its gentle light across the quiet Nile. The village remains wrapped in peaceful silence, with only the soft chorus of frogs and insects filling the cool air. Yet somewhere beyond the eastern horizon, morning has already begun its long approach. The darkness is no longer as deep as it was an hour before. A faint softness appears where the sky meets the distant desert. No one is awake to admire it yet. The change belongs only to the river, the reeds, and the birds resting quietly among them. A cool breeze travels slowly across the water. It brushes against clusters of papyrus growing along the riverbank. Their tall green stems sway together, making a gentle whisper that seems almost like quiet conversation. Tiny drops of moisture have gathered on their leaves during the night. Each one catches a little moonlight before slipping silently into the river below. The Nile accepts every drop without hurry. It has accepted rain, floodwater, drifting leaves, and fallen reeds for thousands upon thousands of years. Its patience seems endless. Along the muddy shore, several small boats remain tied exactly where they were left after sunset. The ropes are slightly damp with dew. Wood that felt warm beneath the afternoon sun has become cool beneath the night air. A folded fishing net hangs over the side of one boat. Its fibers glisten faintly. By sunrise, they will be dry once more. Near the boats, an elderly fisherman wakes before everyone else. He has done this for so many years that no loud sound is needed. His eyes simply open. For a few quiet moments, he remains seated upon his woven sleeping mat. He listens. The village still sleeps. He hears the breeze, the frogs, the gentle movement of water against the shore. These familiar sounds tell him everything is as it should be. He rises carefully so that the rest of his family may continue sleeping. The packed earth floor feels cool beneath his feet. He folds his linen covering with slow, practiced movements before placing it neatly beside the wall. Nothing is left scattered. Small habits keep even the simplest home peaceful. He reaches for a clay cup filled the evening before. The water is pleasantly cool after resting through the night inside its porous jar. He drinks slowly. Outside, he pauses beneath the fading moonlight. The village appears almost dreamlike. Every house is quiet. Every doorway still. The old fisherman breathes deeply. The cool morning air carries the scent of wet earth from the river mixed with the faint smell of baked clay cooling after yesterday's heat. He smiles softly. This has always been his favorite hour. Not because anything exciting happens, but because everything is calm. The world has not yet become busy. He walks toward the river using a path he could follow with his eyes closed. His sandals press lightly into the dust. The footprints he leaves will soon be joined by many others. At the shoreline he unties his small boat. The rope slides easily from its weathered wooden post. He steps inside with steady balance gained through decades upon the water. His fishing net rests exactly where he placed it the previous evening. Nothing has moved. The careful preparations made yesterday now make this morning simple. He pushes gently away from the shore. The boat glides silently onto the river. No splashing. No sudden movement. Only the quiet sound of water parting beneath the wooden hull. His oar enters the river with slow, even strokes. Each pull feels familiar. His shoulders know the motion without conscious thought. The current helps him. The river always asks for cooperation rather than force. As the fisherman moves farther from the village, birds begin stirring among the reeds. A heron stretches its long wings before lifting gracefully into the pale sky. Several ducks paddle quietly through the shallows. Small fish disturb the surface now and then, leaving circles that slowly spread across the calm water. The fisherman watches carefully. Years have taught him where fish often gather before sunrise. He lowers his net with patient hands. There is no rush. Fishing rewards quiet attention. He waits. Waiting has become as natural to him as breathing. Back in the village, another home begins to awaken. An elderly baker sits up slowly, rubbing sleep from tired eyes. His knees ache a little more than they once did. Many years of standing beside hot ovens have left their mark. Still, he smiles as he prepares for another day. Bread has been part of his life since childhood. His father was a baker. His grandfather before him. He lights a small oil lamp. The tiny flame dances for a moment before becoming steady. Its warm glow fills the room with gentle light. Clay bowls stand waiting upon a shelf. Grinding stones rest quietly where they were cleaned the evening before. Everything is ready. He opens a storage jar and carefully measures grain into a basket. He never takes more than needed. Grain is precious. Every handful deserves respect. His daughter joins him a few moments later. Together they begin grinding flour. Forward. Back. Forward. Back. The familiar scraping sound becomes one of the first signs that a new day is beginning. Soon another grinding stone answers from a neighboring house. Then another. Gradually the peaceful village fills with this quiet rhythm. No bells announce the morning. No loud voices call across the streets. Instead, the sound of ordinary work slowly awakens the community. The sky continues changing. Dark blue becomes softer. Then gray. Then pale silver near the eastern horizon. The stars begin disappearing one after another. Not because they have gone. Simply because daylight is returning. The first rays of sunlight have not yet appeared, but the world already feels different. Along the dusty roads, a few more villagers step quietly from their homes. A woman carries 2 empty clay jars toward the river. She enjoys collecting water before the morning paths become crowded. The jars rest comfortably against a wooden carrying pole balanced across her shoulders. The weight feels familiar. She has made this journey nearly every day of her adult life. She walks without hurry. The cool air makes the task pleasant. Nearby, a young boy follows his older brother toward the animal enclosure. Their family keeps several goats and a pair of donkeys. Before breakfast is prepared, the animals must be checked. The older brother opens the simple wooden gate. The goats greet him with soft bleats. Fresh water is poured into shallow troughs. Bundles of dry straw are spread upon the ground. The donkeys nuzzle gently against the boy's shoulder while waiting for their morning meal. He laughs quietly. One donkey has known him since he was very small. The animal recognizes his voice. Trust grows not only between people, but between people and the animals that share their daily work. Across another courtyard, an elderly grandmother sweeps the floor with a broom made from bundled reeds. Fine dust gathers into small piles before being carried outside. The movement is slow and steady. She has swept this same courtyard every morning for many years. The simple act does more than remove dust. It prepares the home for another peaceful day. A clean space welcomes calm work. Nearby, her grandson rolls up the sleeping mats. Each mat is shaken gently before being stacked against the wall. The room slowly changes from a place of rest into a place of daily life. Nothing inside the house has more than one purpose forever. Spaces change with the hours. Morning brings work. Evening brings family. Night brings sleep. The home quietly adapts to each rhythm. Far beyond the village, the first edge of the sun finally appears above the eastern desert. A soft golden light touches the tops of the tallest palm trees. The reeds beside the Nile glow gently. Birdsong becomes louder. The coolness of night begins its slow retreat. Another ordinary day has arrived. Not through sudden excitement, but through the peaceful return of familiar routines that have shaped Egyptian life for generations. Every sunrise brings another opportunity to care for fields, repair homes, bake bread, guide water, write careful records, mend fishing nets, share simple meals, and preserve the quiet order that allows an entire civilization to awaken together beside the timeless waters of the Nile. The first light of morning spreads slowly across the Nile Valley, touching the land with quiet warmth rather than sudden brightness. The eastern sky glows in soft shades of pale gold, and the last stars gently disappear into the growing daylight. The river catches the new light first, its calm surface turning from silver to a gentle ribbon of gold that winds peacefully through the fertile valley. The village greets another day much as it greeted yesterday. And the day before that. And countless mornings before those. There is comfort in this familiar beginning. No one wonders what the morning will bring. The first tasks are already known. They have been known for generations. From one home comes the steady sound of grain being ground into flour. From another comes the quiet crackle of dry reeds catching fire inside a clay oven. A rooster calls from somewhere near the edge of the village. Soon another answers. The sounds are scattered across the settlement, never loud enough to disturb the calm that still rests over the land. A woman opens the wooden shutter covering a small window in her home. Fresh morning air slips inside. It carries the scent of damp soil, river water, and bread beginning to bake. She pauses for a moment before beginning her work. The coolness will not last long. She knows this. By midday, the stones outside will once again grow warm beneath the relentless Egyptian sun. But now, in these peaceful early hours, every breath feels light. She steps into the courtyard carrying a clay bowl. Nearby, a fig tree casts a gentle shadow across the packed earth. Its leaves tremble softly as the morning breeze moves through them. She scatters a handful of grain for the family's chickens. The birds hurry toward the food with quiet excitement, pecking carefully at each kernel before wandering back into the shade. Nothing is wasted. Even small scraps of grain have purpose. Near the animal enclosure, her husband checks the woven fence surrounding the goats. A few reeds have loosened during the night. He kneels and ties them firmly back into place using strips of palm fiber. The repair takes only a few moments. Had it been ignored, the opening might have become larger over time. Small repairs often prevent larger problems. This simple idea shapes much of daily life in Egypt. Across the village, another family begins preparing for work in the fields. The father places a wooden yoke across the shoulders of two patient oxen. The animals stand quietly. They have followed this routine for many seasons. Their broad hooves press gently into the soft earth as they wait. Nearby, two sons carry wooden hoes polished smooth by years of use. The handles fit comfortably into their hands. Each tool bears tiny marks left by generations of work. One handle was once held by their grandfather. Its wood has darkened with age and countless days beneath the sun. The youngest son notices a small crack beginning to form near the end. Without being asked, he carries the hoe to a shaded workbench beside the house. His grandfather is already waiting there. The old man studies the crack carefully. He smiles. "It will last many more seasons," he says quietly. Together they wrap the weakened section with thin strips of leather pulled tightly around the wood. The repair is simple, strong, almost invisible. When they finish, the grandfather runs his hand along the handle. Satisfied, he nods gently. There is no need for new tools when old ones can still serve. The repaired hoe is returned to the others. Soon it will travel once again into the fields. A little farther away, the village potter has already begun arranging yesterday's dried vessels beside his kiln. The morning light reveals subtle differences in each piece. Some jars are large enough to store grain for an entire family. Others are small, meant to carry oil or perfume. A few shallow bowls wait to hold fresh bread at the evening meal. The potter examines each vessel one final time. He brushes away a tiny grain of dust from the rim of one jar. Another receives a gentle touch where the surface feels slightly rough. Only after this careful inspection does he begin stacking them inside the kiln. The arrangement matters. Too close together, and heat may not reach every surface evenly. Too far apart, and precious fuel is wasted. Experience has taught him exactly how much space each vessel needs. There are no written instructions hanging upon the wall. Only memory. Only practice. Only years of patient observation. Across another courtyard, a young apprentice sits beside an elderly basket maker. Fresh papyrus reeds have soaked overnight in shallow water. Now they are soft enough to bend without breaking. The old craftsman picks up one long reed. He folds it gently. Then another crosses over it. Slowly the bottom of a basket begins to appear. The apprentice watches every movement. After several minutes, the old man hands him a fresh reed. Without speaking, he nods. The lesson has begun. The apprentice copies the pattern. His first attempt is uneven. One side rises a little higher than the other. The old craftsman smiles kindly. He loosens several reeds. Then he begins again. The young man follows more carefully this time. Little by little, the weaving becomes straighter. No one rushes him. A basket made carefully will serve for years. One made carelessly may fail during the first heavy load. Time spent learning is never wasted. The village gradually becomes busier as the sun climbs higher. People greet one another along the dusty streets. Most conversations are brief. A nod. A warm smile. A few quiet words about the condition of the river. Someone mentions seeing fresh duck tracks along the marshes before sunrise. Another speaks of repairing part of an irrigation canal later in the morning. The exchange is simple. Everyone continues toward the day's work. Near the riverbank, several women wash linen cloth in the clear morning water. They kneel upon smooth stones polished by many years of use. Each piece of cloth is dipped beneath the surface. Lifted. Wrung gently. Then spread across nearby reeds to dry beneath the growing sun. The white linen catches the morning light beautifully. It moves softly whenever the breeze passes across the shore. Children help by carrying baskets of clean cloth back toward the village. One little girl struggles beneath the weight. An older cousin quietly lifts half the bundle without saying a word. Together they continue home. Helping one another has become as ordinary as breathing. No one keeps count. Along the river, the fishermen who left before dawn begin returning one by one. Their boats glide quietly toward the familiar shore. Some have caught many fish. Others only a few. The river is generous, but never exactly the same each day. Still, no one appears disappointed. Tomorrow will bring another chance. One fisherman carefully untangles a fish caught deep within his woven net. Instead of pulling roughly, he works patiently. The net remains unharmed. The fish is placed gently into a basket lined with fresh reeds. Nearby, his grandson watches with careful attention. Every motion becomes another lesson. Patience protects both tools and harvest. The sun climbs a little higher. Warmth slowly returns to the valley. The cool air begins to fade. Shadows shorten almost unnoticed. Across the fields, farmers step between rows of growing crops, inspecting leaves, touching the soil, and watching the steady movement of water through the narrow canals. Nothing has changed dramatically since yesterday. And that is exactly what brings comfort. The canals still flow. The grain still grows. The boats still float. The ovens still bake. The workshops still hum quietly with patient hands. Day after day, these ordinary routines continue almost without interruption. They are not remembered because they are unusual. They are remembered because they endure. Every repaired tool, every freshly baked loaf, every woven basket, every carefully written record, every shared meal, and every quiet act of cooperation becomes another small thread woven into the great fabric of Egyptian life, where order is not created through loud commands or grand displays, but through thousands of gentle routines repeated faithfully beneath the warm desert sun, beside the calm and timeless waters of the Nile. The morning continues to unfold with the same quiet confidence that has greeted the Nile Valley for countless generations. The sun climbs a little higher above the eastern desert, sending gentle warmth across the fields without yet becoming harsh. Long shadows still stretch from palm trees and mud brick walls, though they grow a little shorter with every passing moment. The village has fully awakened now. Not with sudden noise. Not with hurried footsteps. Instead, every household has quietly settled into the familiar rhythm of another ordinary day. From above, if someone could watch from the sky, the movement would seem almost like the slow turning of a great wheel. People leave their homes. They follow paths they have walked thousands of times. They carry tools polished by years of use. They greet neighbors. They begin their work. Each small action joins countless others until the entire village moves together with calm purpose. Along one dusty lane, a young mother walks beside her small son. He carries a tiny woven basket with both hands. Inside are several round loaves of bread wrapped in clean linen. The basket is not heavy. Still, he holds it carefully. His mother has told him many times that bread deserves respect. He remembers watching grain being harvested only a few weeks before. He remembers helping gather fallen stalks after the older workers had passed through the field. Even though he is still young, he already understands that every loaf has a story. When they reach the home of an elderly neighbor, the woman gently knocks on the wooden door frame. The older man opens it with a warm smile. His knees have become stiff over the years, making long walks to the baker more difficult. Without any ceremony, the little boy offers him the basket. The older man thanks him quietly. Soon the empty basket will travel home again. Small kindnesses like these are woven naturally into village life. No one keeps a record of them. No reward is expected. Helping one another simply makes each day a little easier. A short distance away, the village well has become busier. Several women stand patiently beside its stone edge, drawing water one jar at a time. The rope slides smoothly over polished wood worn shiny by many years of use. A bucket disappears into the darkness below. A gentle splash. Then the steady pull upward begins. The movement requires strength, but also rhythm. Pull. Pause. Pull again. The full bucket rises slowly into the morning light. Fresh water is poured carefully into waiting jars. No drop is wasted. Each vessel is covered with a cloth before being lifted onto a shoulder or balanced upon the head. The women walk with remarkable grace. Years of practice have given them perfect balance. Their steps remain smooth even along uneven paths. Children often try to imitate them, placing empty baskets or little clay bowls upon their heads while laughing softly. One day, without even realizing it, those children will carry full water jars just as steadily. Skills enter life quietly. They arrive one ordinary morning after another. Near the center of the village, the blacksmith's workshop is already warm. Unlike many other craftsmen, his work depends upon fire. A small charcoal furnace glows brightly beneath a clay hood. The air smells faintly of smoke and heated metal. The blacksmith turns a pair of leather bellows with slow, powerful movements. Each push sends fresh air into the fire. The coals brighten. A small copper blade resting among them slowly changes color. When the metal becomes soft enough, he lifts it with simple tongs. The sound of his hammer rings gently through the morning. Not loudly. Just enough for nearby neighbors to recognize that another day of careful work has begun. Each strike is deliberate. The blade grows smoother. Straighter. A little stronger. When finished, it will help someone harvest grain, cut reeds, or shape wood. The blacksmith rarely sees how his tools are used. Still, he knows they will become part of many ordinary days. Nearby, a carpenter sits beneath a woven shade made from palm leaves. Sunlight filters gently through the gaps, creating shifting patterns across his workbench. He studies a length of imported cedar. Wood like this is precious. Every cut must be considered carefully. He marks a straight line with charcoal. Then begins sawing slowly. Fine curls of fragrant wood gather around his feet. The scent is pleasant. Different from the smell of local trees. Every shaving is swept into a basket. Even the smallest pieces may later become pegs, wedges, or fuel. Nothing useful is discarded. Across the road, a group of young children gathers beneath a broad sycamore tree. One elderly woman watches over them while their parents work nearby. She tells quiet stories about the river. Not stories of kings or great battles. Instead, she speaks of seasons when the flood arrived just a little earlier. Of fishermen who learned to read the movement of birds. Of a family who planted fig trees whose shade now comforts travelers many years later. The children listen with wide eyes. The stories teach patience, observation, respect for the land. They remind the children that ordinary people leave important gifts behind. A canal running beside the village reflects the brightening sky. Its water moves slowly between carefully shaped banks. Several farmers walk along its edge carrying wooden shovels. During the night, a little silt has gathered where the current slows. It is only a small amount. Still, they stop to remove it. The work takes less than an hour. Mud is lifted. The channel becomes clear once more. Water flows more freely toward the fields. No one waits until the canal is completely blocked. Small maintenance is easier than large repairs. The habit has become second nature. One farmer pauses and watches the water for several moments. Tiny leaves drip gently along the surface. The current carries them smoothly around a bend before they disappear. Satisfied, he smiles. The canal is working exactly as it should. Nearby, two boys gather smooth stones from the path. Not because anyone asked them. They simply know that loose stones make it harder for donkey carts to pass. They carry each stone to the side of the road, adding them to a growing pile that will later strengthen part of a nearby wall. Even children notice opportunities to improve the village. The lessons they have watched all their lives slowly become their own habits. Farther along the Nile, a merchant's boat appears around a gentle bend in the river. Its square linen sail hangs quietly in the light morning breeze. The boat moves without hurry. Its cargo includes baskets of dried figs, rolls of fine linen, pottery wrapped carefully in straw, and small bundles of fragrant herbs collected farther south. The captain has traveled this route many times. He recognizes nearly every landing place, nearly every village, nearly every family waiting along the shore. Trade is not only about exchanging goods. It is also about maintaining relationships built through years of honesty. As the boat reaches the landing, villagers gather with calm interest. There is no rush to be first. The cargo will still be there in a few moments. The merchant greets familiar faces by name. A potter asks about the quality of clay in another village. A weaver wonders whether fresh flax has arrived from upstream. A fisherman exchanges news about changing water levels. Business and friendship blend together naturally. The conversation is gentle, measured, patient. Above them, the sun continues its steady climb. The warmth grows a little stronger. Birdsong slowly changes as morning advances. The shadows shorten once again. Another hour passes almost unnoticed. Yet within that single quiet hour, bread has been baked, water carried, canals cleared, tools repaired, children taught, stories shared, boats welcomed, and friendships renewed. None of these moments will be carved into stone. No great monument will remember them. But together they form the quiet foundation upon which Egyptian life continues, one peaceful morning after another, beside the ever-flowing Nile, where ordinary people preserve order not through extraordinary deeds, but through the calm repetition of simple tasks performed with care, patience, and quiet devotion. Now the day has gently completed its quiet circle. The last of the evening light has long since faded beyond the western desert. The warm colors that rested upon the fields have disappeared into soft shades of blue and silver. Once again, the Nile reflects the moon instead of the sun, just as it has done through countless nights stretching farther back than memory can reach. The village grows still. One by one, the clay lamps burn lower. Their small flames flicker gently before becoming little glowing embers, leaving homes wrapped in peaceful darkness. The day's voices have faded into silence. The grinding stones have stopped. The ovens have cooled. The boats rest safely along the shore, tied with careful knots that will wait patiently for another dawn. Across the fields, the barley sways almost invisibly beneath the night breeze. The irrigation canals continue carrying quiet streams of water through the fertile earth, asking for no attention until morning comes again. The animals sleep peacefully. The oxen rest after pulling their wooden plows. The donkeys stand quietly beneath simple shelters. The village dogs curl into comfortable circles beside familiar doorways. Even the birds have tucked themselves safely among the reeds and palm branches, hidden beneath the gentle cover of the night. Inside every home, families rest together. Children dream after days filled with small discoveries. Parents close tired eyes after hours of honest labor. Grandparents breathe slowly, surrounded by the familiar sounds that have comforted them throughout long lives beside the Nile. Their homes are simple. Mud brick walls, reed mats, clay jars, wooden stools, woven baskets. Yet within those quiet walls lives something that cannot be measured by stone or gold. There is trust. There is routine. There is the quiet confidence that tomorrow will begin much like today. Long before sunrise, someone will rise to light a lamp. Someone will grind fresh grain. Someone will untie a fishing boat from its post. Someone will open a canal to guide cool river water into waiting fields. Someone will shape clay with patient hands. Someone will mend a basket. Someone will write careful symbols upon fresh papyrus. Someone will carry water home along a dusty path. Someone will bake warm bread whose comforting scent will drip through the waking village. None of these moments will seem remarkable. Yet together they have carried Egypt through centuries. Not only the great temples. Not only the towering monuments. Not only the names remembered by history. But also the quiet mornings. The ordinary afternoons. The peaceful evenings. The thousands upon thousands of simple days lived by farmers, fishermen, bakers, weavers, builders, merchants, servants, children, and elders whose steady routines formed the gentle heartbeat of an enduring civilization. The Nile flows beside them still. Patient. Faithful. Unhurried. Its waters continue northward beneath the stars, reflecting the same moon that watches over sleeping villages, silent fields, and quiet boats resting against the shore. The warm desert wind softens as midnight deepens. Papyrus reeds whisper together at the edge of the river. A frog calls once from the marshes. Then the silence returns. The stars drift slowly overhead, keeping their ancient paths across the endless sky. There is nowhere to hurry. Nothing left to finish. Only the peaceful rhythm of another quiet Egyptian night. And as the village sleeps beneath the calm embrace of the heavens, the river continues its endless journey, carrying with it the memory of countless ordinary lives shaped by patience, kindness, careful work, and the gentle order of each passing day. May those quiet footsteps along dusty roads, the soft scrape of grain upon stone, the warm scent of fresh bread, the gentle splash of oars upon the Nile, and the peaceful glow of distant lamps fade softly into the stillness of the night. The ancient world grows quieter. The stars shine a little brighter. The river keeps flowing. And the calm night beside the Nile carries everything gently into silence.